Hello. Okay, I'm coming. I'm going to join you. Hopefully the stream is already running. And I've got my tea and my broth. Hi, Maria. Good to see you. And I'm going to just turn this off. Good day. Good morning. Hello. How are you? Thank you for joining me today on this live stream this morning. And this morning we're going to talk about probably one of the biggest, most fundamental dilemmas, problems. Hi, Craig. Hi, Maria. Probably one of the biggest dilemmas and problems that exist for humanity. So, I'm excited to talk about it. So, this is something, hold on, let's see. Can you guys hear me okay? Just let me know in the chat. Awesome. Yeah, I feel mystical today, and I'll tell you why. It has everything to do with you and everything to do with us and me and the universe. So as you know, my name is Silvia Isachsen. I go live every Saturday, and I'm releasing a book on May 15th. It was supposed to be May 1st, but for many good reasons, it's coming out on May 15th. And if you saw the YouTube thumbnail today, you'll see that that's actually going to be the cover of my book, which I'm excited to share with you. I don't even feel like it's my book. I feel like I am being the messenger for the message that all stemmed from the dream in Sedona. So let's go back to that spot and talk about our biggest fear. Now there are layers of fear, but our very biggest fear is that we won't be loved, we will be forgotten, and that we are not significant and that we don't exist. Hi there. Awesome. So when I first realized those fears, I thought, no, that can't be. I always think this too. It's so funny. I always think this. That can't be our biggest fear. But in fact, it is. It's not even that we fear death. Death isn't the biggest fear. And the only reason why we fear death is because we fear being lost, alone, separated, no, unique existence and personality. So that's the bad part. But there's a really good part to this, and I really want you to stick with me for this message, okay? Because I know that listening to what our biggest fears are is one thing, but we're all looking for solutions, particularly the people on my channel. Your awareness is open, and your awareness is sharp, acute, intuitive. I understand who I'm speaking to in this audience today. So let me move forward in it. We are afraid of losing ourselves and being separate. And in ancient, scriptures or wisdoms, they talk about duality. So being separate from God. And today, I want to tell you how we are one with God and how that should make us very happy. But it's kind of like an ice cream sandwich. It's the stuff in the middle, isn't it? It's that stuff in the middle that makes it a sandwich. So when we go through suffering and when we go through physical, emotional, mental, any kind of suffering, what's happening is that it provides us the opportunity to come to the conclusion and to open up and be more compassionate. We start to see patterns in our lives. We start to understand where the pain points are. And we start to realize that most of us experience these types of experiences of loss or of not understanding why things aren't turning out the way you want to. And that actually is oftentimes what leads people to wanting to manifest. They really want to manifest, but what's lacking in that connection is that manifestation isn't about requesting something come to you, requesting and praying for God's prayer to hear you. Manifestation in its truest form is recognizing that you are the mirror of God. That's a big deal. You are the mirror of God. So what does it mean to be the mirror of God? It means that you are the reflection and made in his image, her image, whichever you want to use, his, her, and God is all-encompassing consciousness. So can we really say him, her? We use those terms because that's how we perceive ourselves as we are experiencing ourselves. So here's God, here's you. You are mirroring God. The first thing we think about is we are not good enough. We couldn't possibly be God. We know our flaws. We know our desires and who we are. It's not possible that we are actually God. And we say this conversation, but when we get wise enough and rise above that noise, we realize that in order for God to experience itself, it breaks itself down into, as one of you viewers discussed. So I'm actually quoting one of the viewers. I believe that it was Nufi that said this. We break ourselves down into fractals. It could have been someone else, but we break ourselves into fractals to reflect God. So in order for God that is all-encompassing, omnipotent, everything, God experiences experiences itself through us, through contrast. And contrast is experience, which leads me back to the book. Hi there. Hi, Kim. Hi, Craig. Hi, Mystic Vibe. God experiences itself, consciousness, through us and through contrast. And contrast gives birth to experience. And experience was what, in my dream in Sedona, and what this book is about, is what we're here to do, is to experience. And once we experience, we can start creating. So once we understand and we've had enough experiences that has cracked us open so that we now are no longer judgmental. And, I hear a lot of people talking about this judgment stuff, like, oh, I'm not judgmental, or she's judgmental. And understand, it's not even possible to judge because we're all one. So it's an exercise in futility, and it just shows your own self that you're not ready to open the door to full consciousness and your full identity as the image of God. And even though other ancient religions, including the one that I refer to in my book as Jesus Christ, who achieved Christship, told us that we're made in the mirror image of God. So even though he said that, it's hard for us to believe because we see ourselves as flawed. And I'm here to tell you, you are, for good reason. And the good reason is that there's contrast, and with contrast there's experience, and with experience God gets to experience itself. But there comes a time where we have to understand and learn as souls that we now have to shift from contrast and experience to creation, and that we have the power to do that. We have the power to create because we are made in the image. So therefore, if you want to create, you can do so in the playground of experience. And the playground of experience is in what we believe is this universe. And this universe is actually just a reflection of the reflection. So there's God, and there's us, and there's the universe, and it's all one. So it's all reflecting one another. And when we look into the stars and the galaxies and discover things like black holes and how big the universe is, what we're really doing is self-discovery. And I want to add a personal note to this. So, is Nufi here? Great to see you, Nufi. I just made reference to something you said. Great to see all of you. Craig, Mystic Vibe, Maria. So anyways, we were talking about, I wanted to add an experience in there. Oh, yes. So at nighttime, when I lose consciousness here and gain consciousness somewhere else, I always wondered, well, I know I'm really there because it's lucid. I guess you could call it lucid dreaming. And I think, well, why is my body still on the bed? And how come it didn't go? Because these adventures are actually happening internally with inside, which Jesus calls the kingdom. So all of this creation and experience is within the kingdom. But in order for us to see and experience the kingdom and love and God, we see it as though it's outside of ourselves. And we are mirroring the same thing that God does. God's doing the same thing. God is all consciousness experiencing itself through us, through experiences. And we get so into this experience and we go through so much pain because we don't understand this is just an experience. And this experience in some ancient wisdoms is called the illusion. And the illusion of duality, and also the illusion of our true identity and nature. So why am I talking about this? Am I talking about this to confuse you or to, no, I want you to have absolute clarity and freedom. Feel good, feel at ease, at peace with yourself, and know that you are at liberty to embrace your own Godship and Christship and create, so that you can be a super creator, just like a supernova star. You can be a super creator in this existence. And when you do that, you broaden and expand your consciousness and you bring more to God. So what I'm about to say to you right now, is, I understand might not be completely wrapped around, but God actually, like, if we want to please God, we want to create in our most abundant, imaginative, positive way. So, again, we talked about contrast and experience, but if what we say is true, that we love our God with all our heart and all our minds and all our souls, then wouldn't it be logical, and let's even bypass logic, wouldn't it be something we would want to do is to please God by creating lives that were fully abundant? And for some of us, that means to be filled with controversy, pain, and others, it means inventing things, creating things, loving things. So each one of us is an aspect. So there's no judgment, what's right and what's wrong. That's why I love that Rumi quote, outside the field of right doing and wrongdoing, I'll meet you there. And I've always known this deep in my soul that God doesn't create anything bad. But, of course we wonder. We wonder about things like war and, we get scared about what that might bring. But in reality, in this illusion, in the illusion and reality, what does that bring you? It brings you an acute desire for peace. It brings you, it drives you towards peace. And it's quite interesting how, as these beings experiencing this existence, how sometimes we go to the polar opposite in order to discover what we truly desire. So someone might say, why are all these things happening to me? Why am I in a bad relationship? Why don't I have enough resources? Am I sick? And then, so from that, from sickness, you discover your desire for health. And sometimes it doesn't always come in fruition, but at least we understand the benefit of health through that. And, I'm sure you've experienced this before. Write in the comments if you've ever experienced, such frustration or pain that you finally came out the other end and realized that you never want to be that again, and that you value this new value more than anything, or more than you ever did. Okay, let's read the chat a little bit here. Hi, Silvia, just popping in for a bit today. Gotta get ready, 30 minutes to go for an hour session with a medium. So, awesome. So let's talk about that for a second. Why not? Let's talk about that. So oftentimes people will, I gotta tell you this. I got this cup and it has stars on it, and you can't see the moon inside because this is my broth. But isn't it a coincidence that I bought this cup before I even knew the cover of the book that has these stars on it? I always find that, and guess where I bought it? I bought it at a bookstore. So, yeah, let's talk about mediumship and all that. And we're talking about it in a non-judgmental way. I want you to know that you have a direct link with the big consciousness, and that you are mirroring it. And if you ever want to open the door to the bigger consciousness and become closer to your source, you need to empty your vessel of forcing your desires and accepting what's in front of you, so that you can actually learn the experience and bring it back home. Bring it back home to God. So oftentimes we're fighting and resisting the experiences that we have because we say, I don't like this, I don't want this, instead of looking at it and saying, interesting, why is this happening? Not, this is happening to me, as opposed to, what can this bring to my consciousness? What can I bring home with this? What lesson can I learn that's actually going to move the needle of my spirit? And if you find yourself like, okay, I'm just going to be honest here, but as I grew up, I asked myself, I thought to myself, I'm a good soul. Why are all these terrible things happening? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? And then I realized that fairly recently, that if those things never happened, I never would have gone on this search, and I never would have discovered my true identity. And it's almost as though, don't quote me on this, it's almost as though the more controversial, polarizing experiences that you have that cause you to stop, And sometimes that stopping is pain, and sometimes it's realization, depending on the level of awareness we're at that moment. The more you have that, the more opportunities you have to find your identity, which is the mirror image of God, the Creator. So if you're looking for yourself, take a look around you, and everything you see is a reflection of yourself. And if what you see isn't exactly what you want, look at the gift, look for the gift in the circumstance, look for the gift that is surrounding you so that you can embrace the gift and move and open the doors to higher consciousness. And somehow through these troubling circumstances in the early portion of my life, I must say my life is beautiful now, but through those experiences, very painful, I was able to open the doors to consciousness. Sometimes you've heard this before. Experiences will crack you open. And I mean, you have to face the reality of something. For example, and I really hesitate to say this because then people, they feel sorry and they feel bad. I'm not looking for any of it, actually. I designed this experience. So I had what we would call in Earth life the mother wound. So you have that rejection from the one place, the one soft place that you have, and this person tells you, no, I don't love you, I don't want to see you, I don't want to have you, never wanted you in the first place. So that is one of the biggest lessons to understand. And the flip side of that card is loving yourself. And loving yourself is exactly what God wants. God wants to experience itself through us for love and for creation and for joy and for peace and for growth and for expansion. So by me having that real hard lesson, I mean, there's no way around it. When someone tells you straight to your face, I don't love you, I'm not into you, I don't want you, you really have to come to terms with what matters? Who am I? Where do I go from here? It could be a divorce. It could be an illness. It could be, like I'm talking about a terminal illness. It could be the most serious things that happen to us that have the most potential consequence are the very things that are a gift for us. Now, I'm not looking for trouble. I'm just saying they are an opportunity designed and tailored just for you who is experiencing it, for you to become to love yourself and for you to become the mirror image of God, of which you can't get around it. Like, this morning when I was, I really had to prepare. I had to send the email out to everyone. I had to write the YouTube, make the thumbnail, on and on. I'm going to read that comment, Mystic Vibe. So I just thought, I'm just going to come as myself, imperfect self. I mean, I think I ran a brush through my hair for 2 seconds because your imperfect self is perfect. That's exactly what you came to experience. Now, your levels of awareness and consciousness makes your lessons easier or harder, more fun and creative, or really contracting and very unpleasant. Okay, so let's read a comment here. Maria says, contrasting experiences have taught me what I really don't want in my life. Yes, or even like, yes, what you really don't want. And then you lean towards the light of what you really do want. Okay, good. Mystic Vibe. Sometimes when we are sitting in our life, pain is for moving. Yes, but inner stillness is needed, inner consciousness for moving. Right. Okay, so pain will come along and say, hey, there's an opportunity here for you to grow, and you're sitting still. You need to move. I get that. I've been there where, you just got to snap out of it. You know that you've got to snap out of it. Okay, so Nufi says, yep, when you were younger, and I'm speaking in general, you probably valued having a good time, partying, socializing primarily. As you get older, you might value peace more. Exactly. Yes. And you know what the thing is? The thing is it's okay for every stage. Have you noticed that every baby goes through the baby stage, every teenager goes through teenage, every young adult, and then there's the the 30s, the 40s. Everyone has a gift for us, and we have a different desire in each one of those stages and phases, different desires and different problems. And we face different obstacles, learn different opportunities. I mean, really, is it that difficult to see the pattern? I mean, usually there's nobody who just is born as like, yep, I'm ready for that final stage of my life where I'm going to contemplate. No, they want to go through the whole gamut. Let them go through the whole gamut. That's why there's no judgment, because this is exactly the nature and the unfolding of this experience, which we call our life. And Jesus Christ was very clear to tell me, don't mistake your life for your experience. What's happening right now is my experience. My life is Alpha and Omega and eternal. And I'm going to tell you guys something so exciting. When I had the dream and they told me, Jesus told me about Alpha and Omega, I went to Italy, to Rome. And it just so happens that when we were in Rome, my granddaughter, she got sick, so I spent most of the time in the children's hospital. She ended up being just fine. She just caught a bug from the previous place where we had been. Anyways, but at the last day, I went for a cappuccino at 6:30 a.m. and I lifted my head, and there it was. It said Alpha and Omega in the piazza. Oh my gosh. So I was so moved by that, I decided to go back. So I am going to be streaming live, most likely from my phone, in Rome. I'm going back to Rome. There's something I want to experience there. I'm staying right beside the Pantheon, and the experience I want is to transcend. So a lot of people say, I want to know about my past life. I want to know about my future. But I'm telling you right now, guys, this is it. You can experience the past, the future, all at once. And I'm going there to be in that energy, because I know that part of my soul is currently and has experiences in Rome and also in Sardinia. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to actually tap into that energy. So am I into mystical things? Absolutely. Do I get curious about why I have certain pulls in my soul? Yes, I do. But you don't it's not about past life or future life. It's about tapping into that resource right now. Okay, let's shift gears for a moment, and you guys can ask questions if you want. But I want to tell you, every night I'm dreaming. Okay, every single night, and some nights it's a funny dream, and sometimes it's a little disturbing. But I'll tell you about two of my most recent dreams. So last night I got up and looked out of my window, and of course I was laying in my bed asleep. But I got up, my consciousness, and looked out the window, and I saw the moon and the stars. Outside my bedroom window, it's quite a large window, and I could see all the stars because I live kind of on a remote island. Anyways, I saw a huge black bear, huge, with 3 cubs behind her. And oftentimes I will see symbolic animals or symbolic occurrences that do happen. And that's because when I see this black bear every so often, but this time the black bear was very, very large and had 3 baby cubs behind her. Oh wow, when are you going to Italy? I'm going on May 20th. However, I'll still be in touch with you guys. I think May 20th is it a Tuesday? Yeah. So I'm going to bring you on the journey. I want to bring you on the journey, the spiritual journey. And when I go to Sardinia, I'm only spending 3 days in Rome. But when I go to Sardinia, I'm going to go to one of the oldest pyramids of humanity that they know of. And it's quite worn down, but I'm going to show you guys and create some videos. It's in my intention to finish the book by the 15th of May, which it's actually all done, final editing, and then to create some videos based on the book chapters, to continue to go live as well, and also to take you to the ancient wisdom places that actually attract my soul. And I want to get into more creation and helping people My whole objective is to help reduce pain and to increase clarity, to help you understand your true identity so that you can wake up to the fact that you're a creator, you have all the resources that you need, and the illusion of lack and separation, not true. Not true. It's an illusion, and in ancient Vedic wisdom, they look at it and call it duality and the living the illusion. There is no separation. I need you to know that straight off the bat. However, there is experience, and there is creation, and there is fun, and that's what we're doing. So we are experiencing ourselves separate temporarily, the illusion of separation, in order to create wonderful experiences. Now, you might say, yeah, well, easy for you to say, your life is easy, Silvia, this, that, and the other. No, I'm just going to let you know straight off the bat. Me and you were the same person. I experience all the same range of emotions. I've just decided to open the doors to consciousness, and there's many, many doors to higher consciousness, and somehow it's sinking in through the dreams, back to the dream of the bear. And when I see the bear, and it was very close to my bedroom window. Usually I see it from afar. It means great things. So I have a very good association with bears now. In the past, I was afraid of the bears, and the bear was so large this time. And now I felt almost like the bear represented protection and power, and all of the children, the unification of my inner child, my mother, the inner child, so on and so forth. There's a lot going on in my life with regards to that. A lot of appreciation for my actual mother in this experience, because, what a great design. What a great design to find my true identity. It was difficult. I didn't appreciate it very much as I was going through the experience, but I love, love, love the result. And I feel so much gratitude towards that aspect of myself, that reflection of my experience now. Okay, so let's see what you guys are saying. I'm going to go get ready. Okay, bye-bye. Bye, Newfie. Hi, Craig. And yes, I'm so glad that you guys love one another, and that you are into each other. Earlier, Newfie, which his name is Ed, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying so. If you're here, let me know. He talked about partying and being young. And I want to tell you about another dream I had. I was only 15 and a half. I think, yeah, just 15 or in between 15 and 16. And we had just started to go out and, go dancing to the teen dance club, the no alcohol, and kind of sneaking stuff in and doing stuff that teenagers do. And I remember going to sleep that night, and I wore a turquoise skirt and top. I loved the color turquoise when I was in my teens and early 20s. And I dreamt that a wild boar chased me in my dream. So understand, I grew up at that time. I had no idea what a boar was, what a wild boar was, what the difference was, but a wild boar chased me. And as it chased me, it stepped on my skirt. And when it stepped on my skirt, I fell on my knee, and then it started bleeding. My knee started to bleed. And then I turned around to look in fear at the wild boar, and the wild boar started to talk. And the wild boar said, "Now that you've tasted the blood of corruption, which path shall you choose?" So I can't not laugh about it. Can you just imagine yourself as a 15-year-old dreaming of a wild boar talking to you, asking you that? And I was not using drugs. There was no drugs involved. We might have had a sip of some gin or something, lemon gin, but there was no drugs. And I was having these dreams all the time, so I understood that there was a higher consciousness with me at all times, observing me, and that I needed to be accountable to. And I wonder if other people also had that awareness of your higher self. Some people might call it a guide. Some people might call it angels. Some people might call it, but I'm telling you, you have a direct line to your higher consciousness, which has a direct line to God, and it's one line, and you're one being experiencing itself through multidimensional experiences, which we call lives. We misnomer lives. And I'm not saying that based on what I'm saying that based on what Christ taught me in that dream. And that dream wasn't a dream. It was bypassing my everyday consciousness straight to the identity of who I am, so that there was no mistaking who this was and what this message was for my life. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was quite, Craig, that was a real big dream for me at 15. And I was thinking, am I bad? Did I do something bad? And there's a lot of that what we do with ourselves. Like we say, what have I done bad to deserve this or whichever. I thought it was kind of overkill at the time. I thought, why this is pretty intense. All I did was go out with my friends. But looking back retrospectively, it was a line of experiences that wasn't going to lead me to the ultimate experience that I wanted to have, and that was to find my true identity. And I began understanding that I wanted to find that at about 16. I remember writing a poem at 16 talking about I wish that the veil would go away. And by this time, there was so much turmoil, and I really wanted my parents. I really wanted to be with my parents at the time, and of course my experience wasn't going to permit that. So I started really digging deep, and that was around the same time I had the dream about the boar. So my higher self stepped in to say, I'm here for you, I'm here with you, I'm never going to leave you. And that was illustrated in the dream about the cave where I saw the two angels. Now, when these two angels, first of all, I've come to understand, if you dream of a cave, you're dreaming about the kingdom. And the kingdom, the cave, the subconscious mind, it's all the same place. It's where creation takes place and where true power and abundance lives and where your connection with God. There's a portal to your direct connection. Not that you need a portal because you are a reflection of God, but it's the place where you can go and create your experience. Anyways, I had a dream with these angels, and they invited me in to my deeper kingdom and consciousness, and they showed me all abundance. And while I was there, I was like, genuinely, I'm just being really honest, I thought to myself, oh, there is no way I did anything to deserve all of the riches in this cave. Like, I'm thinking, and I told them, I was very honest, I'm like, no, this can't be for me. And they're like, no, it's for you, this is all yours. And I was like, okay, and I just said okay because I wanted to agree with them. But in reality, my soul hadn't yet felt worthy enough because I didn't know my true identity. And my subconscious mind, my higher self, my angels, my guides, whatever you want to call that stream of consciousness, which is all one, was trying to wake me up my entire life. Like it was always there with a dream, explaining something to me to lead me to the right direction. So you're never alone in your worst experiences. If you choose, you can tap into your higher self I bared my soul to Christ and to God. I just said, hey, listen, I'm scared, I'm alone, I don't understand, I'm in pain. Can you show me the way? Can you show me the way? And I always asked for wisdom. That's all I wanted, is to understand, because I knew I could take care of myself. Why am I telling you the story? Not to tell you my story, but it's our story. And when you show up to your higher self, to God consciousness, the power of creation, to eternity, to Christship, with that, you've left everything behind except for the desire to know and to experience wisdom. I promise I won't cry on this time. I won't cry on this. Last time when I cried, a lot of people felt bad for me. Look, I was crying for joy. And when I said I've never felt so loved, so on and so forth, the ultimate goal is to love yourself, because once you find out who you are, the reflection of God, you can't help but love yourself. And that's exactly, ultimately, what God and what we want to experience. But through all the highs and lows and contrasts and experiences, we do grow, we do expand. And in part, that duality is part of creation. And which leads me to another dream I had. One time I was talking to, and this will be the next one, the last one. I mean, I was floating in space, as crazy as it sounds, and I was with two beings, obviously higher versions of myself. And I was concerned about the state of the earth. And I'm like, the trees, this, that. I always loved nature. So, of course, it was about the trees. I still love nature. And they were laughing. And I might have told this dream before to you, but they were laughing. And I thought, that's rather offensive that you'd be laughing. I mean, I'm very concerned. And they said, Sylvia, the way that creation happens is through destruction. And the way eternity happens is through recycling. It's a cycle, and it reconstructs. And at that time, before the black holes came out, what they look like, what their purpose, they explained how black holes were parts of the universe, parts of our consciousness that recycle. It breaks it down and regenerates. And in order for everything to be eternal and renewed, it needs to go through this process. So this process of, and I believe that in Eastern philosophy they have, particularly I think Hinduism, they have Shiva, and there's that cycle. So understand, I am not coming to you like saying, I know everything about theology, I know all about all ancient wisdoms. I'm saying, this is what I'm experiencing through my dreams and through my consciousness. And hey, I noticed that when I watched that about Shiva, it reminds me of the dream I had of the two beings that were explaining eternity to me. And then they showed me, and I don't want this to be disturbing, but they showed me the destruction of many different planets, including ours, and then the reconstruction of new planets, and how it's mind-boggling how big the universe is and how there are multiple universes. Yeah, there's been a lot of mind-bending dreams. And, can you just imagine being a regular, everyday person, having these dreams, and then having to wake up and you turn to your husband and go, I just dreamt of the universe and the shape of the universe. They showed me the shape and how it works. So it's, the symbol of eternity. So some of you might say, oh yeah, so obvious. Well, I didn't know that that's what that symbol was. I was so impressed by this dream. The company that I had at the time, I changed the logo to that. So the way that the cycle works is that energy is pulled in through gravity, and gravity was explained to be love to me. The force of gravity is the force of love and unifying. And then there's another force that pushes out. So we're going through this cycle, bringing in and bringing out. And that's why we have that fluctuation of experience. But the reason for duality is so that we can continue to renew. And that is how we are eternal. I mean, it is our nature to be eternal, but the mechanism is through renewal. That's it. That's all I got for you today. And I hope that you enjoyed this live stream. I didn't even take one sip of my broth because it was too exciting. My book is coming out on May the 15th. The reason why I want to share this book is because I'm telling you, if you read it and you are ready and it's your desire, it will fully transform your mind, spirit, soul, and you will recognize your true identity as being the reflection of God, which will bring you joy, happiness, and the power to create experiences like the one that you have to better mitigate pain in your life, illness, joy, hurt, happiness, whatever it is that you want to experience. You will be more dialed in, more in tune, more empowered to take charge of your life. All right. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining me today. Very exciting, and we'll see you again soon. And also, you'll be looking out for me going to Rome and sharing Rome and also Sardinia, as well as continuing to live stream. I'll have more content for you out. Bye-bye. Thank you.